Should we start, Peter? And I think Mark is just maybe some internet issue. Should we get started?
Yes, I believe so, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so welcome everyone again formally, and thank you all for being here and making this time and space to explore what I believe can be a turning point in your coaching journey. And as you all know, that we have gathered here primarily to explore this human potential coach certification. And it's not just a program, as I see it. It's like a journey that we set on, like almost journeys that I invite you into, to coach from a deeper and a more aligned space. I see this journey as one that combines presence and structure and intuition and insight. So today is really just a space for deep and genuine exploration together with Peter and Mark, who I know will be here in a bit. He may be facing some internet issues. He'll be here. And my hope is at least that by the end of today, you will have some clarity or greater clarity. And it doesn't matter whether you choose to join us or don't choose to join us. It's perfectly okay. I know and I trust that whenever is the right time, you will find your way back to this beautiful space. And it's just today. So let's look at today like just as an opportunity for you to see what is this human potential coach certification journey that I'm inviting you into. Get a feel for how it is held and also who holds it, both Peter and Mark. And that he's here. And also ask you any questions that you may have, whether they're personal, whether they're philosophical, whether they're professional, it doesn't matter. All questions are welcome. And most importantly is really for you to feel into whether this is a right fit where you are on your own journey of coaching and personal mastery. So Mark, welcome back. And you joined
Th-
at the right time. And I'm just going to
Thank you.
introducing both of you. And whilst I have the privilege always of hosting this space, with these two beautiful men who guide this very special journey, Mark van der Linden, and I said your name right, and Peter Leong. So Mark is I feel fortunate to call him a friend. And he's one of the co-founders of Being at Full Potential. That's the organization behind the human potential assessment. And you'll realize quite quickly, presence is, I would say, deeply intuitive, extremely insightful, and it's grounded both in spiritual as well as organizational wisdom. And he'll share a little bit more. Thank you, Mark, for being here. And
Recording in progress.
I'm glad that you're here. Some things happening with Mark's connection today. Now he's here fine. Now,
All good. I'm back. Yes.
Good.
Lovely. Thank you for that introduction, Amrita. Very nice to be with all of you here today, and look forward to sharing more about the program.
Great. I'll also switch gears and introduce you to Peter, who I also affectionately call our old monk in this journey together. And you'll see his incredible warmth and his steadiness, just his way of holding space. It creates like a gentle depth and just invites the truth to like just surface and to arise in his presence. So he's been leading these trainings across the world, and I think that he brings a little bit of rigor, but also immense soul to his work. So more than any of their credentials, it's just for you to get a feel of their energy, because they're the ones who are going to hold space, and that matters as much, if not more, than what is being taught. Yeah, so just in our little time together, here is how I'm thinking that I'll hold space. There are a few questions that I have for Peter and Mark, which I hope and which I'm sure they will be able to answer, but I hope it will bring greater clarity maybe questions that you've held in your own space, but there's also going to be time for you to ask those questions. And so when we close, we'll just close with a gentle check-in and to reflect whether this path is the path for you or not. But like we begin all spaces, I'm just going to invite us all to a little grounding before we dive in. Is that okay? So I'm just going to invite you wherever you are. And I want to say hi to Debashri. I didn't recognize her after such a long time, and it was a mischange in the names, but I just
Yeah, it was just a change of names. That was my bad. Hi, how are you, Amrita?
So good to see you again in this
Same
space.
here. Yeah.
So before we dive into our conversation, let's just take a few moments of stillness together, just so that we can arrive more fully. And it's not a meditation, even though my voice is quite meditative, can be quite meditative, but it's just like a gentle pause and a way for us to center ourselves and just become more available to what this space might hold for each of us. So I'm just going to invite you to relax into your spaces, into your chair, if that's what you're sitting on, and just gently lengthen your spine. Feel your feet on the floor. And close your eyes if you're comfortable, or just bring it to a nice downward gaze. And just allow your shoulders to drop. And as you take a deep breath in, just allow a slow and long exhalation. Just breathing into this moment. It's nothing for you to do right now. Nothing to even figure out, really. Just allow yourself to be fully here. Notice what you're arriving with. Maybe it's just a question, a hope, hesitation maybe. And you don't need to change anything. Just notice it. And now gently place an invitation into your heart that you may receive whatever is meant for you today. And whatever clarity you need begins to gently take shape. So as you take one more slow, intentional, deep breath in, and as you feel ready, I'm going to invite you to gently open your eyes. Thank you for arriving. Let's begin.
Thank you so much. That was wonderful.
You're welcome. I'll just welcome Gitanjali and Kishan, who I haven't met before, but Gitanjali I have, and Adya. Good to have you also in this space. Invite everyone else. People who've been through programs with us normally have their cameras on and allow themselves to be seen, held, and heard. So everyone else, just invite you, if you feel comfortable, to keep your cameras on. Come as you are, right? I'm just going to turn the attention to Mark and Peter, and I'm just going to invite them both to really first speak to what inspired the creation of Human Potential Assessment, the code certification. And I'll just invite you, Mark, to share first as one of the founders, and then invite Peter to share how his journey into the space began. And that's how we'll get started. Over to you, Mark.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it's a good question. And it takes me back to 2010, 2011, where I was just stepping out of being in the corporate setting for over a decade. And I had this very strong sense that there was a lot of untapped creative potential, not only within me, but within a lot of my colleagues. And I also was realizing that there was a strong sort of unknown on how to unleash that potential. There was a lot of effort being put into it, engagement, projects, surveys, all kinds of different initiatives to try and inspire the workforce. And yet, not much of it seemed to be making a big difference. And the insight that was coming through at the time was that we were, doing a lot of really good work, but it was work sort of above the surface, the things that were tangible, that we could see, that we could easily control, but that there was this whole world underneath the surface, the world that we now call the being, the inner state, that was not getting a lot of attention and was yearning to be seen and yearning to be developed and understood and brought forward. But because it's, it was this very intangible and subtle and subjective area of our human beingness, it wouldn't get that much attention. So coming from a research background, I was in consumer insights, market insights within the corporate setting. I had quite a good understanding of how to measure things, how to bring out insights, and how to create conversations around that, and how to impact decisions, strategies, innovations based on market understanding. So, combined with my interest in coaching that was really getting off the ground back then as well. At one point, there was the realization that there was an opportunity to create a tool that could bring a little bit more objectivity to this, vast area of human potential, the inner world. And so that kicked off, a year-long process of pulling together, all the knowledge, all the understanding, the wisdom that we have on what makes the spirit come alive. That was really the question that we were sitting with. My partner at the time, Sujit, who's originally from India as well. So that's why we, from the beginning, always had a very strong connection to India. But the big question was what makes the spirit or the soul come alive? And after months of sort of breaking that down and pulling together all kinds of pieces of knowledge, we came up with this framework that felt quite holistic and really touching the depth of these basic human qualities, which now we call the Human Potential House. And based on the Human Potential House, we then started to create a questionnaire and an assessment, and then a whole sort of analysis portal, and the algorithms and all the things that led to what we now call the Human Potential Assessment. So it was really, a very personal journey of creation. And the objective was to unlock deeper conversation, more meaningful conversation within the organizational context. So we never saw the assessment as the end in itself, but really as a means to an end, to unlock deeper dialogue, to give people language, framework, structure, to be able to go to these deeper aspects of what brings human potential, or how do we express human potential?
Thank you, Mark, for sharing that. And before I invite Peter in, I just want to just share that, a number of you on this call, and I'm sure the others would have definitely heard of Peter Redding, who I like to call my founding father in coaching. And Mark and Sujit really did the course with Peter way back, I think in 2004 or 5, something really long time ago. And they were instrumental in, bringing Peter to India. And so it's a story that goes back a really long time ago. And for those who've trained with me, know how much I'm just so dead against almost assessments, and keep talking about accessing kind of piece of it, which is what we teach and learn and embody through the spiritual based coach training programs that I bring. And yet this seemed to be that perfect bridge, where it's it's called an assessment, but it's really an accessing. And it just gives, just such a beautiful doorway into this world, largely of organizational coaching as I see it. But such a beautiful doorway because it's the language that they understand. And so that's where I found my coming together through this, nurturing this friendship with Mark over the years. And that's where I met Peter and did this assessment myself and did the course myself. And like all things that I enjoy, I bring back to the people I serve. So Peter, over to you to share a little bit about how you got involved and what inspired you to continue bringing the work that, Mark has so beautifully created.
Yeah, thank you, Amrita. And hi again, everyone. Greetings from New Zealand. 10 years ago, like Amrita, I did the human potential assessment and took part in the what we then call the individual assessment coaching certificate. That was 10 years ago, and I come from a consulting background after I left the corporate world, and I was involved with strategy execution, and cascading down of strategic objectives down to the whole organization, primarily through KPIs. In those days was a big thing. Very soon I realized that strategy is one aspect of organizational direction. But I sense that, in the end, whatever strategy it is, it's people that makes or break the strategy. So I began looking for some kind of people development. And on the internet, I found Mark and Sujit. And yeah, personally, at that stage of my life, coming from a professional, very external outlook, there was something that I was also looking for that I didn't have an answer for. And that is kind of like the mystical side of, what reality is about, questions that we ask that, you cannot find specifically because it's unconscious or intangible. Anyway, that was 10 years ago. And today, Amrita, as you say, I'm an older person. I was searching then. I found many things through being a full potential, more things that I ever dare imagine in terms of realizing to become the fuller and the wholer person I am. And even at this older age, I'm still searching because, one of the premise of being a full potential is, we have unlimited potential. It's a question of how much it is being expressed. And as an older person, I'm still, looking forward each day on how I can express more of my human potential. A lot of which I believe I have realized, but then there is still this mysterious fullness that I find tremendously exciting to explore. And probably to the last day of my life, I will do so. Yeah, I think I'll stop there.
Thank you. Thank you, Peter. You will, and for those who join, see the richness of Peter's expression and research that he brings into how all of this gets translated to whether it's organizational culture or whether it's, awakening the spirit at work, as he calls it. And it's just a joy to learn from you, Peter. So thank you so much. And, I know most people here on this call are coaches, but I just invite you both to, share a little bit about what kind of coaches or practitioners are drawn to this work, and who does this program really serve the best?
Okay. So definitely having a coaching background is really important. And I would say pretty much a prerequisite. It doesn't have to be necessarily a full ICF accreditation, but I think what is important is that the people who join have a sort of a coaching mindset. And what I mean by that is the belief that their clients, the people that they're working with, already have the answers within them, that they already are resourceful, and that it's, really a matter of helping them see what they already know and being able to express what they already know. Because this assessment tool is really created with that in mind, and the way that we debrief and that we support our clients in getting the most value out of the report is really through coaching. So, you will see that the report doesn't have any conclusions or any recommendations. It really is just sort of a mirror of how expressed this person may be at a given point in time in terms of realizing their human potential. And as coaches, what we do is we help them find their story in the data. So the interpretation is really happening in the discussion, in the conversation. And that's really powerful, because they then own the next steps, and they will really have a much stronger commitment to follow through and to continue the coaching journey going forward. And so we often say that the assessment is a great way to sort of lay a roadmap for a coaching journey with a client. It sort of provides a map, and it can pinpoint to specific areas that are going to be important for them to look at and develop. And then it can also serve as a post assessment to be able to see the progress. So that's how some coaches are using it. And then the other aspect is, when we look at coaching, there's sort of the transactional coaching and the transformational coaching. So I'm assuming that all of you, or most of you, are more in the transformational approach to coaching, which is very much also what Amrita champions. And that's also how we look at it. So anytime we work with the deeper layers of our being, that is what is enabling sort of the transformational journey within our clients. So yeah, transformational coaches, and I would also say a very important group of people that can have tremendous impact are coaches or internal change agents. We also refer to them as intrapreneurs, so people who are embedded in organizations, either in the HR function or learning and development functions, or really anywhere, but that have a vision of how things can be, right? So they're sort of the visionaries within an organization. I think every organization has people like that. And they would look at this as a potentially an enabler for them to bring their ideas to life and to help their stakeholders come on board and sort of join this journey of inner work, right, and unleashing human potential. So that would be the other group of people that gets attracted to these programs.
Peter, you want to speak to that a bit in terms of the coaching mindset, and even if you're not a coach, that piece, can you still do the program, or anything else that you'd like to add?
Yeah. First of all, as coaches, I think, I look at coaching today like the two arms, right? On one hand, and I look at it at this moment from a developmental point of view, a personal development point of view. So on the one hand, a coach is as good as the level of his or her development is, all right? And on the other hand, one of the key part of aspect of a coach is, to understand and to guide your client, all right, whether collectively or individually, towards their growth as well, right? So being a full potential assessment gives you information and many openings in parallel for your own development, your own personal awareness, your own personal development. And with this growth that you take, we call it's more a shift in a vertical shift, a shift in the way that you are after the change that is different from what you were before when you go through this. And through this shift, you begin to understand development more and more. And therefore, when you have this kind of conversation with your clients, you can also look at it from their developmental perspective and really connect, with them, because you are always in the developmental framework. How do I help him or her to also, like myself, reach my full potential? And it doesn't matter whether you're a coach as well, to just quickly touch on this, because whether you're a coach or not, you're an employee, the yearning is there. The yearning for this innate, it's an innate gift that we have, that we want to be two things: to be of service to others, whether it's our immediate colleagues or to our family and friends, and if you look wider, to the community and to the world. And the other part of it is that you want to you always, whether you're a coach or not, you always look ahead to see, looking back, whether you have taken steps, if you like, to realize the fullness of who you can become. So everyone has got this need to want to grow and want to awaken, whether you're a coach or not. It's a question of just, creating a spark for them in yourself first and then in others.
Thank you. As you may have heard Peter and Mark both speak a lot about this expressed, how much of it is expressed, and potential and piece of all of that. And that's really what attracted me and drew me to this work, is the basic premise is that all of us have potential. It's not that some have more or some have less. We've all been given, I would say, infinite potential. But there is some aspects of it that we express and some that we don't express. And so what the tool does is really, it assumes that the basic potential, if it's expressed in different qualities or dimensions, is the same in everybody. But it measures that to say what aspect of that are you expressing or not expressing. And so you have that opportunity to grow and blossom into your full potential. And it also measures that how does that then show up in your interactions, whether it's in a workplace or otherwise, and how does that impact what we call above the waterline when you look at it as an iceberg. And of course, there is a human potential iceberg as well. It doesn't box you into this kind or that kind, which is what was my, let's stay away from assessments on that piece. It doesn't box you at all. But it invites you in to explore your potential. And that's really what is so beautiful about it. But, both Mark and Peter, you touched upon that it's about the individual who is learning this assessment. There is also an impact that it has on us, a transformative impact that it has on all of us as well, as participants. So can you share a little bit more in terms of, do we take the assessment? I mean, I know all the answers, but I'm asking on behalf of everyone else, do we take the assessment, and how does that show up, and how does that support us as individuals before we become practitioners of this tool?
So just to make sure I understand, Amrita, so the experience that we have ourselves, how can it support us to decide if it's something we want to take forward into our work?
No, the more really, what is the transformation that an individual goes through who goes through this program before they decide to take it to their work or not?
Okay. Yeah. So I think Peter was speaking to that a little bit already, that the program does really invite us to step into more of our potential. So, you know, the 7-week journey that we go on, there's definitely a personal aspect to it of our own growth. But the primary objective, of course, is to gain the skills and the know-how needed to be able to debrief and coach your clients, so the people that you serve, on getting the most value out of the assessment. So you learn really the best practices, how to hold space, how to interpret the scoring, how to understand all the different frameworks that we use. Amrita spoke to the iceberg. There's a human potential house. So there's, you know, this maturity index that we work with. So there's a number of different outputs that you get from the assessment, and each of those frameworks has, you know, a lot of power in it to unlock something within your clients. And in the training, you will also learn which framework to use at what point, you know, based on where the client is, what's the best entry point there. And so the more that you have experience working with this at a one-on-one level with leaders and people that you serve, the more that you're going to see also possibilities to bring this into organizations and to deploy this at a team level, at an organizational level, because the principles are very, very much the same. But starting at individual is, yeah, it's really the way to go. And I think, Amrita, you could probably speak a little bit to that progression that you have experienced over the years, right? Where you've gone through the certification program, you've worked at it with people at an individual level, and now you're starting to see the benefits of taking this into organizational settings as well.
Yeah, I can speak to it very eloquently and for the entire set of the webinar, but I'm noticing that there are people who are making notes. I don't know whether it's notes of this or some questions that are popping out, and I want to be conscious of time as well. So I'm
Yes.
just going to invite, you know, you all in first, and then if there's more time, of course, I'll be happy to share, and you'll all know where to find me. So very happy to share as much, you know, information as you'd like. But just, you know, what's on your mind? You can unmute and comment if there's a question, there's some curiosity, something more you want to ask. And yes, Anil's hand is already up. So welcome in, Anil, and just share whatever you feel like.
Thanks, Amrita. Thanks, Mark. Thanks, Peter, for sharing. The question that is uppermost in my mind is, you know, when I have in the past for a decade used Barrett values culture transformation tools, and then over the last 7-8 years used Ashok Malhotra's existential universe mapper for individual leader and organizational level measurements. And Amrita, as you know, you and I share back from the Peter Redding days, this aspect of not wanting to box people. And that's one of the reasons when I measure for systemic, I always make sure it's never boxing them in. I'm very curious if there is some kind of a comparison. If there is understanding of EUM, that will be great. If not, at least the Barrett values framework. So one gets a comparator, at least with these two, which I know are not really boxing people.
Yeah, thank you, Anil. Peter, do you want to speak to that, to the Barrett values? And because you've done a lot of sort of comparisons on those, along those lines.
Yeah, great question, Anil. These frameworks always help us to know what the next stage of growth we can grow into. And that's the value both for yourself and for your clients. You know, Barrett values is more today in terms of another framework, Anil, without having to talk about Barrett values that you know so well, and perhaps other people as well. A lot of research has been done on adult development, all right, the highest stages of adult development. And currently, actually within the Being at Full Potential assessment and the methodology, we have got also what we call a consciousness maturity index. And that is a very sort of intuitive way of using an ancient yogic knowledge, if you like. It's called the Panchakosha, which I'm sure you, and that is more the if you like, the intuitive side of what the inner core of a person, a human being is, right up to the physical, right? I think you know the 5 sheets. Along that, you also have, let's say, action logics, all right? Action logics comes from a line of research from Lovinger to Cook-Rotier to Bill Torbert, and they form, basically what it says is that how does our mind forms in order to engage and participate and contribute to the ever-increasing complexity in our universe, in our world, and then in our universe. So the forms of mind, or the structure of mind, enables us to proactively, all right, meet complexity face on, and find and help others also, you know, to understand the rate of complexity going on. So I can't say exactly what the parallel is with Barrett values, but values also comes, ultimately everything comes from the mind, and of course from the spirit, which is the soul and you know, the spirit of the person. But yeah, so Anil, do you have any question just based on what I say, or anyone else?
I can maybe add one more thing, Peter. So I think the Barrett Value Center, from what I understand, it actually plays in the same space as the human potential assessment. So it really does look at the inner qualities, looks at culture at a collective level. I think where maybe we have something that is quite unique is the ability to connect the inner being with the outer, let's say, performance metrics that organizations are very concerned with, things like engagement, trustworthiness, customer orientation, inventiveness, the things that we know drive the organizational success. And with the iceberg that Amrita has spoken about a few times, we're able to connect the inner, so what's underneath the water, the inner being, and measure those states and those dimensions and show how they correlate with the elements above the water. So the things that every leader, manager understands are key drivers of the business. And so by making those connections and being able to show where an organization and individuals are today on all of these different aspects of performance, inner and outer, we're able to really open up those conversations to say, what do I need to work on myself as a leader? What do I need to develop within me if I want to have a breakthrough in the area of innovation, for example, if I want to unleash the creativity of my team and my people, if I want to you know, ensure that there's a higher level of intrinsic motivation with our people rather than, you know, just focus on the extrinsic motivators. So what, you know, the things that give a sense of meaning and purpose in people's lives. That is where the human potential assessment can really shed light and help people understand those connection points. And I haven't seen any other assessment solution that does that so effectively, bring the inner and the outer together. I think the Barrett values assessment is very good at shining light on the inner, but the extent to which it can sort of correlate that to external drivers of success, I haven't necessarily seen that.
Thanks, Mark. In fact, resonance with what both of you say. Just a practical follow-up question. One is, Peter, I also extensively work in the Panchakosha model and the Chitta Vidya-based measurement, which is the psyche, and it's the Indic psychology based on Yoga Sutra, how to measure. Very curious if at some point after other questions come, you can dive into it. But Mark, as you were sharing, the question that cropped up for me was, for how long, and how much has this been applied in how many organizations with how many leaders has this been applied? And especially, for instance, at C-suite level, I often work with trust and collaboration at CXO levels, right? So I'm just curious if any anecdote of what caused the shift is there, which would help us get the texture of what happened.
Okay, sure. So yeah, this tool has been around since 2013 is when we launched it. So it's over 10 years. There's over 10,000 people who have taken the assessment. We've worked with probably, I would say, I don't know, between 50, at least 50 organizations, teams, probably more than that. And, you know, we have many, many, many anecdotes and evidence that it does what it's supposed to do, right? It does bring attention to the inner being, and it, you know, so many people have said, like, it's such a great mirror of what is going on within me, or within what's, you know, what's happening in the team, but I haven't been able to put words to it yet, right? Because it's sort of an intuitive feeling, and because you know, we're giving language to these deeper qualities, and we're seeing how they're expressed. It's like, yes, this is what I've been feeling, you know, that type of validation. We've done quite a few pre-post assessments with teams and organizations where we've been able to see the impact of our efforts. So there's many, many case studies, which I, you know, obviously happy to share, and also are going to be part of the course. So anecdotes, there's I think a beautiful anecdote, just a very, very recent one with an organization Amrita and I have recently worked with in India, specifically on trust and collaboration. And this is a leadership team that are very high performing individuals, and, you know, they're very good at what they do, and they're great leaders within their business lines, but they haven't been very effective at coming together as a leadership team. And, you know, there's a lot of strong personalities, a lot of miscommunication, misunderstandings. So they invited us to come and spend 2 days with them, and they all took the assessment, and we worked with their data. And what happened very quickly on in those 2 days is that there was a sense of connectedness that was built, and a sense of, like, openness to be able to share with more authenticity, more vulnerability. And very quickly, all of the disconnects and the sort of the divisions that may have been there, and the tensions that may have been there, got to the surface. And, you know, we were able to address it, to look at it, to work through it in you know, beautiful ways. And this deeper sense of oneness and togetherness and bonding, you know, very quickly came to the surface. And then what happens is, you know, trust and collaboration, they just naturally flow from that. It's not something that you need to work on. It's not something that you need to come up with a plan. How are we going to be more collaborative? It's just a natural consequence of deeper listening to each other, of having a shared space. Then there, you know, that just comes out naturally. And it was just wonderful to see, and to see how every single time when those spaces are created, it basically happens, you know. And Amrita, I don't know if you want to share anything more about that, but
yeah, just to add to, you know, what Mark shared is just to see, you know, when you say the energy of the room shifts, just to make that was like so visible in terms of how this group moved over those 2 days was one part of it. And the other beautiful thing about this program, about this assessment, and again, which I think is unique to this, I'm not, I don't know of too many assessments, so I may be completely wrong, but is that it gives you the data, and the data is, again, not one of my best friends, but it gives you a report at a team level as well as at an individual level, right? So to be able to look at it as a team, not that this is of me or anything else, but as a team, how we're showing up, I think is really powerful in the organization context. And even though data is not my best friend, to use the data as just it's there. It's literally there. It's really the narrative that it supports and that it allows. I think the assessment, the data, the language, this whole organization performance metrics, I have for I don't know how many years or maybe decades been speaking about my great passion of building soulful organizations. this has been the biggest enabler in bringing that to life. And so, that's why I'm so thrilled and excited about it. But I see that Saurabh has unmuted. And if there's something you want to share, please.
Yeah, no, I was curious, Mark, about inner development goals. Not recently, about 6-9 months back, I was in Stockholm and I met Eric. And Eric and I had a very long conversation on IDGs. And I was, of course, very impressed by IDGs. So I know that you are also involved with IDGs. And is that something that, the human potential assessment sort of is built on? Because I found IDGs very fascinating when I went through IDGs, and I thought, oh, finally, it seems like I have something that I can base a lot of things that I want to work on. And so is there a connection? And if it is, then how much of it has been extended in human potential assessment, or is it very much the same framework that you're, sort of building on?
Yeah, thanks for that question. The intent behind the IDGs, the inner development goals, and the human potential work is the same, which is to bring more clarity, structure, objectivity to the very subjective nature of inner development. The IDG started in 2001, I think, 2002, so it's fairly recent. And it was based on the insight that we're not making enough progress on the Sustainable Development Goals. So the 17 UN Sustainable Development Goals, the 2030 goals, and that we're falling behind on pretty much every single goal. And that one of the reasons for that, one of the important reasons for that, is that we're not paying enough attention to the inner state. So the shift in how we're thinking about these challenges, right? And that there is a level of inner work that needs to be done if we want to see impact, significant impact on the outer dimensions. And so this gave rise to the inner development goals. And there's a beautiful story, of course, between IDGs and SDGs. And there's a large community and a large movement that got going very quickly. And so they have hubs all around the world. And I started to get involved with the community of practitioners because I saw so much parallel with the human potential model, even the number of dimensions that we have. So the human potential house has 23 dimensions, and the inner development goal framework has 23 inner skills, they call. So even the number is similar. And there's a lot of correlation between them. So there was just like this great sort of ally that I saw there. And as I got involved with the community, I started to realize that many people were asking for ways to measure these inner development goals, right? Because there's a beautiful framework, there's a lot of research behind it, they have great communication material and all of that. But to be able to have impact in organizations, a lot of people were saying we need some way of bringing some objectivity, some measurement to the inner development goals. And that was not available at the time. So that's when I kind of had a real breakthrough to say, like, I've been developing over the last 10 years this platform for human potential, and a lot of it could be reapplied to serve the IDG community. So if you think of it as an engine, sort of a back-end engine that could be brought to life in the frame of the IDG, right? Looking at the 23 skills. And so that's what I did about 1.5 years ago, is created a derivative of the human potential assessment that is now the IDG measurement tool. And we also offer certification programs on that specific tool, which is very much in line with the human potential one. So a lot of the same principles on how you debrief, how you coach are the same, but it's just the output is different, the language is different, it speaks to a different group of people.
Okay.
And it's most effective for people who are working in the area of sustainability, right? And that want to make a case in their organizations for inner development so that they can have greater impact on the sustainable development goals that they're working towards. So I'm very closely connected to the IDG world, and it's an open source platform. So, I was able to build on it and, offer this tool back to the community.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Mark. Very helpful.
I'll just share one not fun fact, really nice fact that touched me. Again, was just the same 23 dimensions of the house, same as in the IDG. And I'm a student of the Bhagavad Gita, and it's the same 23 qualities that are there in chapter 16, which are called Devik Gunas, identical. So I said it's just meant to be. It just has to be. So it's just that's how it all came together. But I know that we're reaching the top of the hour, and one of the things that piece that I've heard and now embody greatly is that when your being is alive, your doing thrives, which is a big piece of the human potential assessment that it allows and fosters. So I just invite, maybe Peter and Mark to share a little bit about that. And in case people need to drop off, since we're at the top of the hour, I'm appreciate that and appreciate and thank you for your presence and time. But we'll stay on a little bit more, Mark and Peter, if that's okay, to answer any more questions that people may have. Just
Sure, absolutely.
for
Yeah.
some more time.
Yeah.
But if you can speak to that, that'll be a nice way to close for people who are dropping off, and then we'll still stay on.
Sure. So this has been the motto that has been there really from the beginning, the very beginning of the idea of being at full potential was when the being comes alive, the doing thrives. And, it's kind of flipping the traditional way of looking at happiness around, right? So if I perform, if I get this, then I'll be happy. And what we've really taken a stand for is when we nurture our being, when we nurture our inner state, it really is what unlocks our capacity for creativity, innovation, impact, purpose, meaning, all of that flows from it. So, to reach a state of fulfillment, to reach a state of happiness, a lasting state of happiness, a lasting state of impact, then, nurturing the being is the way to go. And so the name as well, being at full potential, really focusing on the being, the motto. And the other interesting thing maybe is the vision that we have, which is every human being at full potential. So we've really taken a stand that this work is for everyone, and that it's a basic human right to be able to express our God-given talents and gifts. And anything that we can do through technology and platforms like the Human Potential Platform to give people access to these tools and resources, that's really become part of our mission. So you may have seen that the individual Human Potential Platform is free. It's available to anyone. You can take the assessment for free. Your clients can take the assessment for free. So there's no license model attached to the Human Potential Platform. That's something that I decided like 3 years ago, through the beautiful conversations with Peter, who helped me see that expressing our human potential is a basic human right. And it was one of those things that kind of unlocked a deeper sense of purpose for me too in this work. And then of course, when we work with organizations and we do team assessments and we do deeper analysis and all of that, then there's a more traditional license fee attached to that. But any individual user can access the platform for free. And there's tremendous amount of resources, not just about the assessment, but each of those 23 dimensions can be clicked through, and you can access videos, inspirational resources, exercises, all kinds of things are available there. So yeah, the iceberg is also part of that, when the being comes alive, the doing thrives. So the idea that there's all this hidden part of the iceberg, and when we bring that to the surface, everything else gets unlocked. Peter, do you want to add anything to this motto?
Yeah, I'll add a completely different approach to this for the first time. Being at full potential, as we say earlier, everybody has this infinite potential that they can realize, and so you can imagine it like the diamond in the ground, deep within you, with many facets, right? Some of which are light is shining through, some of it are waiting for it to be to rub it a bit, to polish it a bit, for the light to come through. And the being a full potential assessment tool and methodology, just by doing the assessment, you're opening something like over 30 doors, dimensions, attitudes, maturity index, that opening each of these doors through dialogue, through a safe dialogue, through safe conversation, helps both yourself and the people you're engaging with to start to see, hey, that's one little facet of my diamond, all right, that I can use, that can polish it up a bit. And so the shift that we are talking about is when you start off, the shift is the diamond that you have, that is a lot of which is still unpolished, waiting to be polished. And once it's polished, then you see a lot of different perspectives, right, through much more lens. And that is how, for example, values begin to take a deeper meaning. Trust begin to take a deeper meaning. And like Mark says, it's not a question of, explaining what trust is or what the strategy is, what the vision is. It's a question of them seeing, aha, I'm interested in strategy. Now I can look at strategy through this polished facet, and that would take me, and my client to new pathways. I think this is so the being and the doing and the acting. Once the diamond is polished, the doing and the acting becomes alive, much more alive.
Thank you, Peter and Mark, both. I just want to invite, if there's anyone else has any questions, then feel free to unmute and come on in. I've put a link off the assessment for everyone if you'd like to take it in the chat box. I know some of you have taken it and had debriefs from some of the people who've been through the program earlier. And I'm also just going to put in a link for the course. But if there's anything else that you'd like to ask or share, please come on in.
Hi, thank you so much, first of all, for taking us through this. And it's quite interesting. And, one question, rather not a question, but more like a reflection which came up for me was that when we go to organizations as part of the consulting work that we do, a lot of times we see that the focus is a lot on the doing part, which means organizations want quick answers to say that, who's the person I should invest in, or amongst this particular team, how can we help them drive collaboration, innovation, trust, influencing faster. Like, there is always that pressure on the doing part of it. I was actually wondering that, how could one use this or rather leverage this tool to actually start talking about how faster results can still be seen, because that's what matters to them, with the focus on the whole being part, and therefore being able to get leaders to think from the core, and therefore being able to drive those results faster.
I love that question. Yeah. So a way to look at the tool, the measurement and the debriefing of it is almost as a shortcut. Like it's a shortcut to the essence. So part of what slows down, all the being work is that it is messy, and people will have different understandings of what these things mean, right? What trust means, what, gratitude means, all of these things that we know are really important to unlocking the being. And so that can create kind of a bit of chaos, a bit of messiness, and either it takes a long time or people just shy away from it because it's a challenge to work with that. And I think what the assessment does is it brings immediate clarity. It brings a framework. It has very clear definitions for each one of these 23 dimensions. And it brings people on the same page. Like these are the levers and these are the things that we know are going to drive, things like trust that you said, or things like collaboration, innovation. So in that sense, it's a shortcut. It brings people to the essence. And I think the other argument that we often make is that, yes, you can, if you just work at the doing level, you can maybe change things a little bit faster, but you're not going to be changing things in transformational ways. So you might have little incremental impact, or you might be making the same, repeating the same things and facing the same challenges over and over again, which can lead to some sense of frustration. You're working so hard, you're doing so many things, but you're not seeing any impact. And so what, the story that we like to tell is that by slowing down a little bit, by taking time to step into the being and to do some work there, what you actually are doing is you're accelerating afterwards. You're accelerating your ability to create more transformational change at the doing level and have lasting impact at the doing level. So it might be a little bit of a slowing down up front, but it is what allows us to speed up afterwards, and that sense of speed up is always there. When we spend time in the being, you basically build momentum, you build up energy, and what happens is the team, they just want to get started, right? They want to get moving. They want to, so you're unblocking actually energy that's there. So I think that is quite a good story, the power of slowing down in order to go faster or to go further afterwards. Yeah.
And I just speak very quickly to another project that Mark and I are doing, which speaks to exactly the statement that you shared, Meenu, in terms of how do I figure out who are the right people to move up to the next level, and normally, traditionally, I think assessment centers and assessment tools are used to do that, right? And so when they came to us, and we said, well, there is an assessment that we have, but the way that we approach it is very different. And yes, they all took the tool and they've all been through that aspect. But what we're inviting them to do is to have an understanding of what is it that the leadership potential that they have, and then how, now that they know that, how will they express it? And so giving them a chance to demonstrate their leadership potential rather than us assessing the leadership potential. And that just that shift in doing that, supports them, is more, I would say, they feel more enjoyable about doing it rather than again saying, oh, I made it, I didn't make it kind of situation, and very non-threatening. So I think that's another very quick example of some work that we're doing using this tool.
Lovely. Thank you so much. In fact, just one follow-up question to this. And, again, this is one question which keeps coming to us a lot of times. When we go to our clients, they would ask, the left-brained clients mostly would ask for what is the statistical evidence behind this, and, how, sorry, I'm not getting on the right words, but, they typically ask that, okay, whether this is like a proven tool and
validated.
Yes, absolutely. While you did answer a part of it earlier to Anil's question, but just wanted to kind of come back to it with you, if you don't mind.
Sure. So, I've come to position this tool as one that sits in between science and art. So, to kind of really take a stand for this is not the kind of tool that I even want, or maybe even can be, fully validated, from a hardcore scientific point of view, psychometrically validated. And I'm not sure that it would even make a lot of sense to do that. So what we've done is really take a stand for this being more of a, sitting in that space between the subjective and the objective. And so we often say it brings a little bit more objectivity to a very subjective field of human potential. And it makes it easier to speak about it. It gives language, it gives definitions, etc. So that's, just claiming that space, right? Not trying to be something that we're not. That was very important. And the other thing is that we're just continuously validating it from a point of view of, clients who have used it, they've done they've done they've done work, they've done a post-assessment. And so we're very good at and put a lot of attention at capturing case studies and learnings and evidence that it does what it claims to do. So, those reports are always written up after a project. We keep them, they're available to anyone who wants to hear about the story behind it. And I think that's the way that we keep the rigor going, right? Because we often always will get this type of question. So to be able to show real life case studies of clients who've used it and benefited from it, I think that's already a powerful way of showing the impact and the rigor of the tool. But no, it's not a psychometric assessment tool.
Thank God.
Thank God.
Yeah.
I would say that the best validation is for you and the client to experience it, because then it's real. So that is a perfect way of validating to see whether or not through work, not like immediately a session like this, you experience something, but any kind of development takes time. But over time, it's the experience that you feel that you can also reflect back. Before I was looking at this way, now I'm looking at this way, and look how far, how vertical that movement is. And that by itself, doesn't need validation, because it's a direct experience from within yourself or from within your client.
That makes sense. Thank you so much. So Amrita, is it possible to get one sample team report? Maybe not from a real organization, but just
You've taken the assessment, and you've taken it at an individual level. If taken, the team report is identical. There's no difference between how your report will look and how a team's report will look. Just the data is going to be different in that. That's it.
Sure.
Right.
But yeah, I can share an example of a sort of a template of a team report as well, if you would like.
Thank you so
much. And for example, also a case study of a team that we've worked with and how we've captured.
That will help a lot,
yeah.
Mark. Thank you.
We can do that.
So I would circle back to Peter on the Panchakosha. If you could just take a moment to explain how you do that.
Okay. How big a full potential that is originally Mark and Sujit, and we call it the consciousness maturity index. So like the 5 sheets of the Panchakosha, we have 5 levels of consciousness, if you like. All right. Let's start from, you want top down or bottoms up?
I like the bottoms up, because the body and life level can never be dealt intellectually. They have to be experiential.
Exactly. So we start with the physical, the matter, all of us are made, right from the start, we know we are material, structured, if you like. But the material has got sentience. So translated into consciousness, the physical part, all right, is fear-based wisdom or fear-based consciousness. It's, when you look at it, you can reference it to so many other frameworks, all right? Needs, survival needs, Maslow, right? So I think Panchakosha physical actually speaks to that as well, but probably more in an energetic way. Here we, adopt it to the mind, the consciousness. Then the next level, all right, which we call the emotional, is actually how we relate to other people, all right? the prana, the energy enables us to, interact with other people. And so that is the emotional base. And what do you call it? The
feel good base.
yeah, the
Interesting.
feel good. That means, it's very important to have empathy, to connect with other people, and let's not upset the cards, if you like, the energy that wants to maintain good relationship, but at the same time, doesn't allow you to step out into the next level of energy, if you like, which is the rational, the reason-based consciousness, right? And that's when really we fully engage the mind, all right? I mean, know how much sort of engagement, the ancient Indian system talks about mind, particularly Aurobindo, right? The mind, supermind, overmind, and so on. So, and when you correlate it back to development, I think these three sheets or levels of the consciousness maturity would account for almost 60 to 70% of the population through many numbers, particularly US numbers, European numbers, and so on. Different researchers, hundreds of researchers done on this, in terms of how conscious this maturity of consciousness is. And then of course the next will be what the consciousness maturity, we call it wisdom-based consciousness or purpose-based consciousness, right? And that with the fourth sheets of the Panchakosha. And of course, we call the fifth stage, which is, I think it's Ananda Kosha, if you like. That's, of course, we call it bliss stage, but it's actually, how do you be in bliss from an earth-based basis is when you are in service to others, all right? Where you actually don't exist, you exist for the others. And that's how you get bliss, right? So Anil, that kind of, show how Marcus Aurelius took the Panchakosha, but from an intuitive, it's actually a spiritual sense, all right? And the spiritual development is different from the stages of development, which only was discovered about 100 years ago. The Panchakosha was over 2,000, 3,000 years ago. They knew what energy was like, what was, what was the heavens and what was the earth, right? So, yeah. And that's probably, I think, for me personally, of the whole human potential, the maturity in consciousness is what will serve new coaches, experienced coaches, the best for themselves and for the client. Beyond that, all right, for our struggling planet, because we need to get to that level of higher consciousness, all right, a purpose, wisdom-based consciousness, for us to really, all right, in our very little small way, help save the world, save the planet, for example. All right. We talk about sustainability, how we can help with this. We need to have higher level of consciousness. And this being a full potential opens the conversation. Amrita started to say it's a journey. It's exactly a journey, right? It's a lifelong journey from birth till the day we say goodbye to Earth. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Peter has.
I hope you get something out of that, and what you want, looking for.
Peter, you've given a glimpse of what module 10 of this program looks like.
That's right.
Right? So quickly, whether but thank you all for staying till the end, even though we've way short the time that we had scheduled. I appreciate. Oh, you have a question, Radhika? Come on in.
I always have questions, you know that, and I have a lot of them, but I'm always a little embarrassed to ask. I thought maybe I could do a follow-up call with you, but I wanted to definitely extend a big thank you to Mark and to Peter for, I think I learned a lot out of the session. A lot of new horizons are just opening up. Mark, I'm a very budding entrant to the space. I've hardly been in the space for about a month, but I feel I belong here. I felt it very strongly before I entered. And I'm really looking forward. So for me, this session was great because, you know, when you said IDGs, I had no idea what it meant. But in my mind, yes, of course, I was like, why is the world talking about SDGs when there's IDGs? And that's where it all connects, you know, and it's amazing how so much of it is connecting to human potential. I mean, I definitely see myself doing the program. I just have to, you know, talk to Amrita as to when she will allow me to, because Amrita, the feeling coming into my head, like you said, receive what you have to receive in this session. I think I should do this and not do the life essentials that I haven't signed up for.
Perfect.
We have to talk.
Perfect. Just go with what is your intuitive sense. You can never go wrong with that.
That's what's probably coming to me, but I'll talk to you. But
And if
thank
there's
you.
a follow-up call that you would like
Thank
to
you
have,
so much.
Radhika, then just let us know as well, any follow-up. And that's the invitation is for anyone, right? If there's any sort of lingering questions, just reach out to Peter, myself, or Amrita, and we'll be happy to
Thank you.
yeah,
Thank you for
address those. Yeah.
being the lighthouses.
So thank you, everyone. It was really wonderful to spend this time together. Thank you. Big thank you, Amrita, for setting this up, for organizing this, and for holding space for us in such a beautiful way.
Thank you.
Yeah, Amrita, hats off.
Thank you.
Well done.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.